Hello and welcome back to my last live of the day. Here I'm Chris the Raw Advantage, and we're doing the Raw Bundle Extravaganza with the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle interview sequence series here. Really stoked to be inviting Olivia on really soon. We're going to be talking about raw wrap salads and fillings, and I have some other fun stuff I want to ask her. I just went for a quick little mango break. I had to power up, between chat, and I got this really good. But we're inviting Olivia on here. We'll see what she has to say. What's going on? Hope you guys are doing good. Hey, Olivia, how you doing?
Hey, Chris. Good.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, we've never done a live together, which Yeah. I'm glad that we're finally doing it.
Now's the time, right? Now's the time. So how are you feeling?
I'm good. Yeah. Thanks for being understanding yesterday. I was physically not feeling very well, and then emotionally I was feeling all messed up, and it was just one of those days, but I'm feeling much better today, so we're
very
good.
Happy to hear, and I'm glad you honored yourself and took the time you needed. It's so important to always remember, like, we're doing this to feel our best, right? And raw food isn't like a magic pill that makes us superhuman and separate from anything, and we all need that TLC for ourselves sometimes, right?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. That's definitely something that I'm still working on. I have this expectation that I should be on all the time. And I do feel like sometimes when you're in this healing community, or you're a health promoter, or you're a raw vegan influencer, whatever you want to call it, that there is this idea that you don't have any problems, or you're perfectly healthy in mind, body, and spirit at all times. And that's not the case for me. So, and I'm not afraid to admit that, but it can feel difficult sometimes to say so, especially when I feel like I'm letting other people down, or not following through on obligations I should be following through on. So it's just my work to do.
You're not alone in that. It's kind of funny. I often actually have said that it's the hygienist's curse, that sometimes, you feel so good and you feel so empowered by this information that you want to help everyone. And sometimes to the degree that you don't help yourself as much as you could in some circumstances. And I've seen some people burn out, and I've been in some stages where I've just pushed myself too far, stayed up too late, gave more than received. And you can end up in a place where you're a little bit frazzled. And we're definitely all human. This is an amazing lifestyle. But unless we're attentive, right, we may not exude it as much as we possibly could. And I think it's just so important to say, like, through saying just exactly what you are, it lets everyone know that that's the truth, right? We're all human. We all need that TLC for ourselves, and it's gives permission, because otherwise some people might think the same thing and end up pushing themselves beyond their own vitality in the moment, right?
It's so true. Yeah, I've been feeling that more and more increasingly with circumstances in the world, and just the increasing feeling of people just being so unwell, again, not just in body, but in mind and in spirit, and starting to feel like almost a little bit frantic about it sometimes. Like, I gotta do more. I gotta do more to help this. We have this knowledge and information, and I feel like it's changed my life so profoundly, and I know it's changed other people's lives so profoundly. Like, I got to do more to share this. And maybe in a sense that's true. I think that desire is really good, but there's also, like, I can only do so much, and when I run myself into the ground, then, like, I'm not good for anyone. I'm not even good for myself. But it is hard when you feel so strongly about something, and you desire to help people so much. It can be really hard to step back and maybe just pause and take some time for yourself.
Yeah,
at least it is for me.
Yeah, no, I've felt the same way, definitely, and I feel like it can come in cycles. And I think, if you feel like you have the world on your shoulders, that can be really tough. And I've seen it, and I've lived that way myself. And I'll be honest, right now I feel like I'm just on the other side of that curve, because I'm actually like, I'm very joyously taking as much time for myself as I need, and realizing that there are so many things, like, we reach so many people in so many ways just by being an example, and we don't always have to be pushing it or forcing it, right? It's sometimes it's just by being authentically ourselves. And someone like yourself and myself, we have content out there. It's always spreading, right? So it's that's a beautiful thing to remember as well, right? We don't always have to be completely active, but
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And for someone like you, I admire you so much because you do have so much longevity in this. You've been doing this so long, not just the diet and the lifestyle, but your online presence. You know, you've been sharing for so many years, and it's something that I really look up to because I don't want to get burnt out. You know, I don't want to get
yeah,
to the point, not that I feel like I'd ever get to the point where I wouldn't want to continue with the diet or the lifestyle, but that I would just feel so tired of sharing because I've
mm,
seen that happen with other people where they push so hard and
yeah.
so hard and then they just have nothing left to give and they either have to take a long hiatus or they just give up altogether. So I feel like you're a good example of someone who you have those boundaries, but you must have them because you've been doing this for so long. So it's
Well,
impressive.
I really appreciate that, and I'll say straight up, I'm still finding those boundaries, and I've definitely been in times where I needed a break, and times where I let myself just kind of be part time, and that's now how I try and live my life. Is I try and live, because this is full time. I've been doing this full time for like 13, 14 years, but I feel like I'm partially retired. That's the way I want to live my life, and I think that's how truthfully we're designed to live. It's just the constructs of society now are like, you must work 8 hours a day to barely make it. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I'd rather barely make it part time, you know, or decently make it part time. You know, I feel way better doing that
Right.
myself. You know,
Yeah.
but everything has its time and place. You know, and everything has its time and place, and it's just it's just an amazing thing. I think how powerful this lifestyle is, and like you said, how much we get from it. That it often really completely reworks people's lives to the point where this is really what they want to do. You know, they want to connect with people and share this message.
Yeah, yeah. I was just on a live an hour ago with Raw Expansion, and that was exactly the topic that we were talking about, where we feel
Yeah.
like it's so hard to explain or to put into words, especially if you haven't personally experienced it, how it's so much more than a diet. You know, it's not
Oh
like
man.
raw veganism is a diet, like eating a keto diet is a diet. It's like, it's an entire paradigm shift. And it's, for me, been an entire, I mean, my life path is just completely gone another direction.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never could have imagined that when I started eating fruit, like that my life would become all about this, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not mad about it, but it is, yeah, it's just like my whole being is all about health and wellness. It's just like, and I feel like I was saying earlier, with the status of the world and the way that health collectively continues to decline, it's like
Yeah.
nothing can be more important than this in the year 2022, right? Like, not, there's nothing, I can't think of anything more important than for
No.
all of us to focus more on our health.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I 1,000% hear you. And you know, one, I want to say, I don't think you're alone just in feeling that, you know, like, and not just in terms of just that the world needs health, but feeling a little bit of extra weight. You know, I think with everything, whether we're talking like geopolitically or, you know, economically, or like there's every single angle, there's some pressures and uncertainty in the world, and, you know, major hardship going on in Ukraine and other places, and, you know, more, just more awareness of a bunch of things surrounding that and other things in the past. And I think collectively, you know, people are just feeling it, you know, like I definitely 110% believe that like the collective energy makes an impact on the individual. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we are the microcosm of the macro of just us people in this planet. And then we're still just a seed compared to the universe, right? But
Mm-hmm.
in this realm here, I think we're feeling it because of what's going on with everyone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's it's a pretty wild time, but an amazing time. And I think we're very blessed to have heard this calling and to be here for service to share it, because you're so right. It not only transforms the individual, but it's like the best choice we can possibly make for every conceivable reason, right? Like the animals, the planet, you know, like everything.
Yeah, agreed. Totally.
So since this is your first time here, could you share just a little bit about your journey to where you've gotten to? I know your story because I've listened to some, and I know some amazing things you've done, and I'd love for you to share that with everyone here.
Yeah, sure. All right, the super condensed version.
Yeah.
So about close to 7 years ago now, I met a woman who is now a good friend who was vegan at the time. She's still vegan, I guess. And that was the first time I'd ever met someone who was vegan. It was the first time that I ever remember hearing the term vegan. Like I'd heard of vegetarians, but I never heard of veganism. Perhaps I had before, but it just like I didn't get it. Yeah, just in one ear, out the other. So I met her and I was immediately intrigued, immediately thought, this makes a lot of sense. And so after talking with her for a few weeks, I went vegan. I started eating all the same things that I was eating before, but the vegan version. So all the processed cheeses and pizzas and burgers, et cetera, et cetera. Which
vegan
felt
party.
What's that?
Vegan party.
Vegan party, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it was, but it didn't feel like much of anything to me. Like I didn't feel any significant shift, whether physically or anything, because those foods are not health promoting. They're not. I don't know if there's really much to say about them at all, at least from my perspective. So anyway, I didn't really experience any shift. And so a little bit while later, maybe a few weeks after that, I was in her room and I saw that she had the 80-10-10 diet book by Doug Graham on her bookshelf. Yeah. And so I asked if I could borrow it. I took it home and read the entire book within 24, 48 hours. I mean, I just like consumed this thing. And the whole time, I was like, this is it. Like, I thought I was going in the right direction with going vegan, but like, this is really it. Like it just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just when you read something and you just know it's right. It like resonated in my soul. And so that was it for me. Like I went to the store, I bought a case of bananas, I bought a whole bunch of mangoes, I bought little carrot sticks, and I was eating mangoes, bananas, and carrots. And that's what I knew what to do. And so that's what I was doing for a while, for several months. And then several months later, I was studying abroad in Israel and I got a parasite, doing all the things I was told not to do, drinking the water, brushing my teeth with the water. I was told not to do them. I did it anyway. I thought I was superhuman. Got a parasite.
Been there.
Yeah. So I came home from that trip and my whole body had a rash, like really unbearable rash. Like I felt like I couldn't exist outside of soaking in the bathtub. My digestion was a mess. I had a visible bulge like in my abdomen where the parasite lived. Like I could see it sticking out, and it was a mess. It was crazy. And so it was at that point, I'd been playing around with the raw thing for a while, that I decided I was really serious about this now, because I didn't want to take any pharmaceuticals. I didn't want to go that route. I just really was convinced that if I created an internal environment that was just inhospitable for a parasite, that it would leave and I would be well. And I was just convinced of that. So I started being even more serious about eating raw, and over the months found my symptoms improving, but knowing the parasite was still inside of me and not finding complete relief and feeling super lethargic. And I was still in grad school at the time. So once I graduated, I decided I was completely abandoning my life path. You know, I was supposed to be a professor. I was going to go on to teach literature and philosophy and all of those things. But the fruit thing got me, and my health was not in a great shape. So that became my highest priority. So I let go of all of my plans, and I moved into a raw vegan community in Hawaii. And I decided that I was just going to live in that community, and I was going to eat fruit off the land, and I was going to rest, and I was going to do whatever I needed to do until I no longer had a parasite. So that's what I did. And about 3 or 4 months into my time in Hawaii, I did purge the parasite. And not only did I feel like I shed so much physically, but my whole world changed. Like I felt like I elevated and expanded spiritually and emotionally. I did so much healing there in the community. And that was it for me. That was like, at that point, I was like, this is my life now. And I have to just continue pursuing this. And so I went on the following year to live in a raw vegan community in Ecuador. And I lived in Thailand for a little while, and I just spent all this time learning about fruit, how to eat it, how to pick it, how to grow it, until eventually it got to the point at the beginning of 2020, actually, where I started to actually share about this, like publicly. I started to build my Instagram account. I felt like I had learned so much over the last several years that now I needed to start giving back. Like, what is all of this if I'm just keeping it to myself? So, yeah, like I guess that's the short of it. That's it. Yeah.
That's amazing. What were the two communities that you stayed with in Hawaii as well as
In
Ecuador?
Ecuador. Yeah. So I stayed at Kanakiki. I'm not sure if you would have heard of it. Yeah, it's
I've
pretty
been there
popular
before.
one.
I
Yeah.
stayed there for a while. Yeah.
Oh, did
awesome.
you? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing. It's no longer a community if you didn't know that. It's not there anymore. But it was an amazing place during that time, not just because of the fruit but like the whole community, the people, the experience, all of that was so amazing.
Cranes,
and then the place,
Simon there too, and the Cranes.
Not Simon. I mean, the Vicky and Bill, and Bobby and Katie Crane, and Rob. Yeah, all of them. I mean, they're all amazing people.
Yeah,
exactly. So part of the transformation was just being around incredible people like that, you know. And then the following year, I was living in Fruit Haven Eco Village in Ecuador. I imagine you've heard of it. Oh, you haven't? It's the sister community to Terra Frutis.
I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not very far from each other at all. I've never actually been to Terra Frutis, but I was living in Fruit Haven for a while. And again, that was another beautiful, transformative experience. I mean, living in community or like just being, you know, Woodstock Fruit Festival, any of those things. It's just such a powerful, nourishing experience to be with people who get it, you know, who get the fascination and obsession with eating fruit and eating living foods. So those are my two communities.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah, and I totally resonate with what you're saying. There's like, you can learn so much from books, you know, like, I mean, like you mentioned, 8-10-10. I still, and I'll say it almost every time I can, I think it's like the Bible of raw food. Like it's one of the best books you could ever read, and I wish everyone would read it.
Yeah.
Even though we are here talking about the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, and there's loads of info in there, I would still say, like, get 8-10-10, have it, and, you know, the rest is really good too. But you've also had some pretty darn amazing experiences as a chef and traveling around and doing stuff like that as well.
True.
Where did your life kind of shift from, you know, traveling and doing this into doing chef work? And, you know, how has that impacted your diet as well? Like when you're living in the eco communities and stuff, were you chefing or are you eating more really simple, or like, what is that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So initially the first 2 or 3 years, I was into that deep healing, trying to get rid of the parasite, as well as just like a lot of emotional healing that I hadn't dealt with my whole life. And so I was eating just fruit. Like I did 2 months at Kanakiki just off bananas, and there's all these different varieties of bananas. I mean, bananas,
so I know. Big.
Oh my gosh.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite?
I really like the really little tiny, I forget what they're called, the lady fingers maybe, the really dark yellow, super tiny, like little cakey ones.
Yeah. There's
so many though. I know you're a big banana fan as well, and I just love bananas. Even the Cavendish ones.
I like them a little bit.
It's amazing. You win. You win for Banana King. But yeah, so I was doing that for several years and just being really, really happy just eating fruit. And you know what it's like when you're in Costa Rica or wherever and the fruit's amazing. It's kind of like, do you want the raw gourmet? I mean, maybe you do sometimes.
Sometimes, but not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, really, you just want the fruit. The fruit is where everything's at. So I was doing all of that, but it was really when I was at Fruit Haven at the end of 2019. I had a birthday then. I think I turned 27 or 28. I don't even remember at this point. And I was living in this raw vegan community. I had my fiance with me. We were traveling through South America. We were going on to Peru. I had this whole experience that I wanted, and it felt like everything was perfect. It was perfectly how I had chosen it to be. And yet I felt like such a deep sense that something was missing. And when my birthday came around during that time, I just spent the entire week just sobbing because I felt like something was so wrong. And so I started praying about that and meditating on it. And what I realized that was missing from my life was service. It was this giving back. It was that I had been traveling around to these different raw vegan communities and tropical places, and just kind of learning and growing and healing and doing all of these things for myself, which was really good and what I really needed during that time. But it got to a tipping point when I was at Fruit Haven where I didn't need all of that for myself anymore. And what I really needed, the hole that I really felt, was that I needed to share. I needed to share all of this. And so once I realized that's what it was, I had no idea how I was going to do that because I wasn't on social media at all at that time. I think I might have had an Instagram with 200 followers. Like, social media was not my thing. I didn't want to do it. And so again, I started praying about this. What do I do? Like, how do I share? How am I supposed to reach these people living in the Amazon rainforest? Like, how am I supposed to do this? And the answer that I got back very clearly was that I needed to get on Instagram and start sharing and building a community there. And I was like, no, please, any other answer other than that. Please, anything.
I can relate.
Yeah, like, please, anything other than social media. But as much as I resisted it, it was the answer. And so at the end, I resisted it for probably 2 months. And by the time the beginning of 2020 rolled around in January, I committed to posting every single day on Instagram for the entire year, which was a lot considering that I was not on social media at all. So over the course of 2020, from January until September or August, I had grown my following from like 200 followers to about 8,000 or so.
Nice.
And with everything crazy that happened in the world, and I started making recipes. Like, I started playing around with raw food so that I'd have a picture to post on my grid. That was literally it. I started making pizzas and lasagnas and burgers and all of those things because I simply needed a picture to post. But it wasn't even because I was really eating those things. Like, I'd give them to my boyfriend, or I eat them sometimes, but I really have always been focused on the fruit. But I felt like I needed some more interesting things to post in order, like, I didn't have access to all this tropical fruit. So I started making these dishes simply so that I could post on Instagram. And so I built up my following.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a crazy journey. And so I built up my following, and when everything happened in 2020, I realized I was not going to be able to travel international that year. And so we decided that we were going to get an RV and we were going to travel around the US because that's where I lived. And so we got in an RV and we set out, and I determined that there was going to be a whole host of new opportunities and options for us. And just a couple weeks into that RV experience, I got a message from Jesse Itzler. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
I don't know that name.
Yeah, he's married to Sarah Blakely, who was the CEO and owner and founder of Spanx. A lot of women know what Spanx are. I don't know if you know what Spanx are. But anyway, very wealthy, successful couple. And he just DM'd me and asked if I'd come and be his private raw vegan chef. And it was like, I followed him for several years. His whole thing is fruit till noon. He's been eating a fruit, maybe not fruit based, but fruit oriented diet for 25 or 30 years. And he's a really amazing person, runs 100-mile races, all kinds of things. But I'd never been a chef. I had never been a private chef. I had never done any of those things. But it was kind of one of those things where the right person asked me and I wasn't going to say no. And I told myself I was available for new experiences. And so there I was going to go and I was going to do that. And so I went to his house and I was his private chef for 3 weeks, and he posted about me on his Instagram, and his wife posted about me, and I doubled my following and then I was therefore known as the raw vegan private chef. And so I've just been kind of traveling around in my RV doing that here and there, doing meal prep, doing all kinds of things ever since the end of 2020. And it's crazy. It's a crazy journey. It's this, this whole life experience, never realizing that my interest in fruit and healing would lead me to all of these things and all of these opportunities. And here I am.
Here you are. It's beautiful. It's awesome. I can tell you, you and I are kindred spirits and have very similar paths, because in the very same way, without going into my own tangent, hit by it, never planned to use it. I had a totally different career path, got into it, couldn't deny it, felt the call for service, couldn't deny it, didn't want to be on social media, couldn't not be on it. And then, yeah, like offered myself as like a live-in nutritionist, raw foodist, but ended up getting sucked into chefing for somebody that I couldn't say no to. And then, yeah, just all of a sudden kind of similar thing, just like invited to festivals to speak and stuff. And like, yeah, it was just, things happen when you're in alignment with service. You know, I think it's kind of funny, to be honest, because I know the name of our talk was the name of your book, which I do want to ask a little bit about. And I've heard again and again that your wraps are the best in the world. You know, that's what many people have said. And I'll admit, I'm kind of similar too. Like I make recipes to make books, and I do enjoy them, and I make them for festive occasions. But I don't like making food a ton. I'd rather just make a smoothie or make my simple salad or my stew that I know how to make in 5 minutes. Like I'm happy just with simple stuff, really, most of the time, you know?
Yeah.
So similar thing. But when I was thinking about this call with you tonight, just even 15 minutes before, because this is actually my fourth today and 3 in a row, so my brain's a little melted, but I was just taking a break and having some oranges and a mango. And I was like, I really want to talk to Olivia about loving service. You know, I want to talk about service because I've been following you and I've been watching some of your stuff, and I've seen that you've, you know, kind of what you've mentioned, that you've just been on finding that balance, you know, that balance between like totally nourishing yourself and being in service and that calling of service, you know. And what is your favorite thing that you do? What is your favorite way to bring this to the world?
It's a good question. I mean, I really, as much resistance as I had to social media for the longest time, I really do like being, especially on Instagram. I don't do YouTube. I don't do TikTok. Maybe I should. I don't know. But I really do like Instagram at this point. One of my favorite things to do is to post on my stories and to do like these ask me anything things. And we talk about all sorts of different topics. And I just really enjoy that. I really enjoy talking to people and interacting in that way and being in my DMs. And I guess I get a little frustrated sometimes because I feel like maybe that's not enough. Like, I don't know if I'm offering, like, I'm able to go deep as I'd really like to go when I'm just answering like a question in one story or two story. And then to be very, very honest, I feel frustrated sometimes because I pour a lot of myself into that, like hours and hours every day, and I don't get compensated for that. And so I guess where I feel a little stuck right now is wanting to continue to serve in the ways that I really want to. And I've noticed that I really like doing that on my stories and stuff, and really like talking with people, but not really sure how to do that in maybe a better way for people, and definitely in a better way for myself, so that I'm not just feeling like I'm working for free all the time. You know, I do other things where I make recipe books. I have a private community. I do meal prep and private chef work. Like, I do all these other things, but those things don't light me up in the same way that I just really like talking to people, and talking about any number of things like health, but also, and not just health in terms of diet, but mindset and all of those things. So I guess I'm not really sure where it's all leading for me or what I can do next. I'm just kind of in that place, but yeah.
Well, I think that you're exploring it. You're definitely going to figure it out. Sometimes it's that feeling that we need to figure it out right now that is the hardest thing, right? Like, there's so many aspects of the stories that I can resonate. Like, I love just the instant, you know, and like you can really connect one-on-one and in a group at the same time, right? So you're actually answering one person, but it helps many people at the same time, right? But what is it to you, do you think, that really draws you into the stories?
I really like that I can reach so many people at once, you know, like you can see your story views, you know, and so I feel like it's really, am I still there?
Yep, you're here. You paused like this though.
I'm there. Oh,
just for a second.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Yeah, so I guess it feels really good to feel like I can share myself and I can reach, you know, thousands of people by sharing that, and I can see all the people interacting. And then I have I have a lot of people interacting, so I get a lot of responses to my DMs, and so I can see that what I'm saying is like hitting a nerve with people. I guess that feels really, that just feels good. It feels good, you know. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's because I prefer stories, so I get more interactions on my stories. But sometimes when you just like post on my feed, it feels like it falls on deaf ears, and that doesn't feel as good. I guess I just want to say things and do things that mean something to people. just That's just what I want. I mean, I guess we all probably want that. If I'm gonna do it, I want to know that it matters. And it feels like maybe it's just because I enjoy it that the stories somehow matter.
That's an interesting concept to run with, right? I mean, just that spirit of enjoyment and you know, focusing in on that. I mean, obviously, if you're enjoying something, it's going to resonate on a different frequency than if you're forcing yourself to do it, right? And with any business, I think there's probably some things that we need to, you know, force ourselves into to some degree, otherwise hire out. But I can totally resonate with that, and you know, like want to more and more just focus on the things that I absolutely enjoy the most and let go a little bit, in that you're going to reach the people that you're going to reach. It's not all on your shoulders, you know?
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like you do want to make that a little bit, something a little bit more permanent. Cause like, that's the one thing that I'm always a little sad about with stories is like, you know, they have that 24-hour impact and then they're gone unless you save them in those little sections. Right. So, I mean, you know, but
yeah, that's the thing too. I don't really like highlights. I feel like those are just like a pain.
Those are traps, right? Those are like, I mean, where you can have like a highlight with 1,000 things on it.
I know. Yeah. I don't know what the answer is for me. What I've played around with different ideas. I really don't feel called to coach. To be very honest, I feel very intimidated by health coaching. I feel like if I were to get into coaching or creating courses, it would be more around the mindset. Like, what does it mean to be a healthy person in mind? Because I think a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people, but there are people who know what to do. Like, they have all the recipes, they know what they need to do, and yet have all these obstacles, and not being able to attain that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way we think about health, or the stories that we've told ourselves about how we can't have this, or we're not deserving of this, or this is too hard, or any number of things. So maybe something like that. But it feels like, I mean, I'm increasingly having people wanting to, like, asking me very specific questions about their health, and I don't feel qualified to answer that. I'm very happy to direct people to other coaches who are able to help them, but I don't want to mess around with someone's health. I know what's worked for me and I know what I believe in, but health is a complicated issue, and it just intimidates me to touch on people's very real health problems and to potentially not be helpful. I just don't feel good about doing that. So but I don't know. I mean, there's any number of ways that we can, I guess, help people. It just feels like to me that a big way that people in our community, or just in the health community in general, get their message across or are helping people is through like ebooks, recipe books, and coaching. And coaching doesn't feel good to me. And I also don't entirely enjoy the process of making ebooks, because back to kind of like what I was saying before, I really just like eating fruit and simple salads. And I don't really enjoy making the recipes. I really don't enjoy measuring out recipes. It just feels like it totally disrupts my natural, just creative process of just dumping and pouring. And when I have to like make it all specific and scientific, and then I have to write it all down, and all of that just feels like not my favorite thing to do. Like, I think Lissa, Raw Food Romance, is like, that is her niche. She is.
Yeah, she's gifted.
Yeah, it's like she can write an entire 100 recipe ebook in the course of 2 days, and it's unbelievable. And she's extraordinary at it, truly. And that is not my area of expertise like it is for her. So I don't
Well,
know
you're
what I'm
pretty darn
doing.
good at it. You know, that is one thing to say. Like your book is fantastic, and the recipes you do create are really good. But I also totally hear you that it's like finding that true calling, the thing that really you enjoy fully and lights you up, and you feel like it has the greatest impact. That is a potent calling to be listening for and feeling for.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's things that I can do and that I'm good at doing them, but it just increasingly feels like you were saying, I just really want to do the things that you really want to do. And
Yeah.
even if it's a good thing to be doing or something you can be doing, if it just feels like a drag, it's like, well, I don't want to spend my life doing things that don't feel very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
tired of that.
that's very respectful. And I also just want to say too that I think it's awesome that you honor what you feel in terms of like health advice and health creation. Because I mean, obviously, just you being you, sharing what you do, that's giving an example out there of health and sharing a lot of information with people that can really, really embetter them. And you're so right. Health is complicated. Like I do the very same thing. Like I've coached for a long time, but if there's something going on that I'm like not comfortable with, hey, go talk to like Dr. Doug, or go talk to Dr. Rick Dina, or go talk, like go
Right.
talk to a bunch of people, right? And I think that's a really good thing to do, because yeah, it ain't no joke. And I think a lot of times people do like they read one book and then all of a sudden they're an expert, and you go on any forum and there's 20 people who are really quick to say exactly what you should do when they read like one paragraph on someone's condition. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit too generic, right? It's
Yeah. Um and I feel like I don't really have the life experience behind me too. Like maybe I would feel different in 10 years from now or
yeah,
15 years from now, maybe, but like I've only been eating a raw diet for a little over 6 years. And to me, that's like still very young. And I know other people might not think that it's the same. And of course, it's more experience than a lot of people have,
yeah,
but
that's
I
true.
feel like I'm nowhere near understanding the ins and outs of all of it. And I certainly don't understand many people's conditions. And yeah, it's a lot to take on the responsibility of walking someone through something that is so challenging and can cause them so much suffering. I just would want them to get the help they really needed. And I don't think that that's me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I often have the thought that all of us are abundant in something, or something we do makes us feel incredibly abundant. And often that's exactly what we're here to do, is just share that abundance. Because there's no one who has like abundance in everything, but if we're abundant in kindness, we're abundant in knowledge, we're abundant in patience, we're abundant in you know good listening, whatever it is, right? If we can monopolize on that by spreading that and helping people, then I think that's going to make things as easy as possible. I don't know if that gives any clarity whatsoever, but
It does. Yeah, it's good to think on. It's
yeah.
kind of what you were saying earlier too. Like, I don't know if you feel this way, but when I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to a breakthrough, I feel like I start to get a little frantic or desperate about it, and that's like not the energy that I want to be in. Just trying to be calm and knowing that the answer for my next step or what I meant to do is coming to me, and just not panicking about it. but
Yeah.
but because I feel so strongly about my work and about the truth of things that I know and how much I desire to help people, that I can start to feel like really panicky about it, because it just feels like time is of the essence, like people are suffering every day and they're unwell every day, and I feel that burden all the time. And sometimes I just have to put that over there on the shelf, and that's not mine to carry all day long. And then sometimes I pick it up and feel panicky about it, and then back and forth and back and forth.
Hey,
So
guess what? You're human, it sounds like.
it's true. I'm
you're
definitely human. Yeah.
you're a human who's really connected with herself, and wants to be of service, beyond most people's scopes, because you're called to it, and that's an awesome thing. I think you'll only get more and more clear. It's funny, right? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's like looking for a relationship, or like looking for a job, if you're forcing yourself into it's usually the most eluding thing ever. It's like it's kind of when you don't expect it, when the best things come.
So true. Yeah. I really dislike that truth. It's true.
Yeah. No, it's slippery. It's so I was about to say, like, so what's next?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm probably going to actually take a little step back and practice that just receiving and waiting and not trying to force and control things, which will probably be a brief step back for me, just like a week or so, because I'm not sure I could handle it for much longer than that. But yeah, I think I'm just waiting for the answer. I know I'm doing all the right things. Like, I know I'm a very active, I'm a very like, taking active steps is like not my weakness. It's my weaker point is the waiting and the trusting. So I've done everything that I can in terms of taking aligned action, and I'm just waiting for what feels like the right next step, I guess.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You know, I think I spent a lot of time in Costa Rica at a farm called the Farm of Life, and my good friend Brian, who's the co-creator of the farm, I'm sure he didn't coin it, but he always talks about loving service and kind of what we're talking about, right? And we've had many talks about loving service and how important it is to pour ourselves out there and share from the heart, you know, without any expectation, but just the genuine desire to help others. And what we've always come to too, though, is that loving service to self is just as much loving service to anyone else, because ultimately that gives permission for others to love themselves fully, like completely, and to put themselves first when they need it, right? And I just think that's a powerful thing to always remember, because when you're in this calling, it's so easy to get lost in just giving, right? And
yeah,
that's damn beautiful. It's damn beautiful, but it can be damn tiring.
It's true. Yeah, it's really good advice. I believe it. I get it up here, but I'm not sure it translates into how I move around.
Yeah. Hey, you know, sometimes we preach the things we need to learn ourselves the most. You know, in the last 13 years, I've taken 3 days off the internet. That's the most I've ever taken off in the last,
really?
Since I started my business is 3 days. So I'm not.
I've never taken 3 days off, but it's been 2 years for me. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah,
but...
it is. It is. Yeah, for me, it took disappearing into the jungle and there's no service. So
you're forced into it.
Forced. But it's a choice force, you know, forced choice force. I don't know, whichever way you want to say it. Whichever way you want to say it. So are you still in the motorhome?
I'm not.
No.
I'm living at my parents right now. More crazy life circumstances has me here right now. But I'll be back in the RV soon. I mean, the weather's starting to break here. I'm in Pennsylvania. So, yeah, I'll be back in the RV once it's not freezing cold. But it's nice to be here. It's nice. I feel like, I mean, the RV is amazing. It's really fun, but it is hard to prepare food or create recipes or do a lot of the things that I do in a very tiny RV space. I have my dehydrator in there and my blender, my I have all the things I need. But I have a much larger kitchen here, so it's a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, that is nice to have that space. Go Pick UFU is saying, why vegans have long hair always? What do you think?
I don't think they always do. Weren't you just on a live with Lexi?
Yeah, it's true. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Lexi doesn't have long hair.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you should answer that. Why do you have long hair?
I'm lazy. and also my cartoon graphic of the Banana Commander has long hair. I don't want to pay the guy to cut his hair, you know?
Oh my gosh.
I'm joking. I actually have the shaved head version and the long hair version, but yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah. I just like looking like Michael Bolton, so that's the only reason I keep it.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's just a preference thing. I definitely don't think all raw vegans have long hair.
No.
But I think maybe you're just paying attention to the ones that do.
Yeah. The hippie ones do, and the professional ones they cut it or tie it back. You know. Yeah. I'm just a banana hippie.
Love it.
Well, I'm stoked that we did get to chat, and we got to connect here. And I do want to quickly check in. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch base with? And we didn't really talk about your book, but your book is about raw wraps and fixins and fillings and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Which, it's funny. We won't go too much into that, but it is really funny how, like, like a lot of people think like health, like, okay, salad all day, but it can be anything you want. You can take a salad, put it in a wrap. It's a totally different dish. And there's something magical about wraps. I just got to say, like,
yeah,
a good wrap is hard to come by, and you have a lot of good wraps in there.
yeah.
And yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it was later on in my journey that I eventually got to the point, maybe 5 or 6 years in, where I thought, hey, I really still like sandwiches and wraps and things like that. Like, I can still have those things. And so that's why I started playing around with that. And it's fun to share those things because I think, people often ask me, and I'm sure they ask you, like, what's the first step towards becoming raw vegan? What's the first thing that I should do? And I always suggest that people have a smoothie for breakfast and they start eating fruit. And I've noticed that a lot of people don't really like that answer, that people actually want to recreate the things that they're used to with like a raw vegan version, which was like not my way in. My way in was definitely diving into the fruit.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think that's necessarily a better way. If your way in is getting a dehydrator and making raw wraps and raw pizzas and burgers and all those things, and that feels exciting for you, then by all means do it. But yeah, it's fun to create things that make people feel really excited to eat more raw food. I mean, that does bring me so much joy because we all grew up with all kinds of different foods that we were eating that were not serving us, and there's attachments to those things, and there probably always will be. And so I'm happy to help create recipes that are just healthier versions of those things.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah, I think Lexi and I just had a fun talk about her book, focused on the fruit.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, right? Where it's like, let's focus on the fruits and the greens, and then the rest is like, the fun kind of party stuff. Have whenever you want, but the backbone of a solid raw food diet really is fruit and some greens, and the rest is a nice party, fun and tasty.
Agreed. Totally agree.
That's awesome. Well, it's been a definite pleasure. Is there anything else you want to say? Second time I'll say that.
No. Okay. This was really fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's great to connect, and like I said, I'm glad that we got the time to do so. Hopefully sometime in 3D, with some good juicy fruit. And I got to say one last thing, actually. Love the motorhome travel. That's actually been a dream of mine. And one thing I put out there is I want to eventually have like a fully clean motorhome and just live in it and do the same thing, travel around. And I'm putting it out there. It's going to happen sometime too.
There you go. I'd love it for you.
Sweet. Well, have an awesome night. Thanks everyone for joining us. And you can grab the bundle in Olivia's link. You can click here before you go because we're just about wrapped up. And I hope you guys have an awesome day and night.
All right. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Check out the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. It's only here till April 11th.
Ooh, don't forget to check out my raw recipes playlist in the top left, the video just for you in the top right, subscribe for more videos in the bottom right, and get your 3 free ebooks in the bottom left. Grab your free raw recipe app available on iPhone and Android with over 100 free raw recipes, common fruit and vegetable calorie breakdown, frickin' raw food combining chart, shopping cart function, and so much more.